Don't laugh. This hat is supposed to help me with stamina consumption. This is a hot take, but I think that Death Stranding 2 might be Hideo Kojima's best game. This is coming from someone who holds Metal Gear Solid 3 on a pedestal, and the thing is, I'm only 30 hours in. I haven't beaten the game yet, but I am compelled by how polished the experience is. It's one of the best examples of how a AAA title should release instead of being inundated with patches and all these different updates. I'll admit that my first playthrough of the original Death Stranding did not immediately click. It felt like an art house project that was somehow greenlit with a blockbuster budget. The game was gorgeous, but the gameplay was awkward and had a slow start, but once the pace started to pick up and more tools were introduced to assist you in navigation, I started to see the vision. While it featured Kojima's distinct style, it also felt subdued in a way, and it felt like Kojima was holding back a bit. That isn't the case with the sequel. Death Stranding 2 is weird, it's bold, it's Kojima. And it does exactly what I think a sequel should do. It takes the existing foundation and builds on it. And not just builds on it, but ensures that the player is capable early so that they can enjoy what the sequel has to offer you. And in terms of Death Stranding 2, it's a lot. Within the first 10 hours of the game, you're going to be building roads, opening up mines for a massive increase in resource availability, using monorails for travel between sites and for resource distribution, saving animals, and yes, you can kill them. On accident, hopefully. And that sucks, by the way, but I do need to mention it because they are really hard to spot at night, so you need to drive carefully. In the first hour alone, you're introduced to the improved combat and stealth mechanics found in Death Stranding 2. And not only are you given more weapons and tools, but you're able to take your entire pack off. And this detail, which would seem minor, is actually huge because once you take off your pack, you're then free to engage without the fear of your products getting shot off your back. Now, you do need to still worry about them getting stolen, which has happened to me before, and it's really funny because you get notified and then you just see an enemy running with all your stuff. You can just knock them out and then regain it, but it is really funny seeing that happen. So make sure that when you do take your pack off, you stow it in a safe place. Regardless, combat is vastly improved, and while you aren't as capable as you are in Metal Gear Solid 5, you can't go prone, for example, you can still be pretty creative with the way you approach enemy bases. If you do enough favors for certain people, like the data scientist and the pizza chef, you can unlock a dog mine, and you can also throw pizza dough at people. Alright, surely this won't work. Sick 'em, boy. Why does it jump like that? This might be my favorite tool in the game. No, Poochie. Alright, it's pizza dough time. There's no way this works. So stupid. That never gets old, by the way. I love doing that. The world is also more threatening this time around, with natural disasters occurring to throw a wrench in your navigation. Floods are frequent, as are earthquakes, and I've also experienced a firestorm, which is honestly terrifying. Encounters with new BTs can be very stressful. The new tracker, which are these huge BTs that survey an area, will chase you immediately once they see you. I want to thank Australia for not only having the most terrifying animals that we know about, but also having the most terrifying BTs as well. It's very in character for them. Let me show you how to deal with these new threats. Either the shotgun works here or I am screwed. Oh, I am screwed. Why won't you die? Oh no. Did I get him? Oh, those things are terrifying. Now, as it pertains to the narrative and the unique moments that define it, It's even bigger and bolder here, which is surprising given that Death Stranding required you to reconnect America while learning about Sam's origins and the different conspiracies and theories that make up why the Death Stranding occurred. Here, it's narrative driven largely by grief, and Kojima does not pull punches. The opening chapter features a scene that I was genuinely shocked by, and it felt like a literal gut punch when it happened. I thought it was a fake out at first until the subsequent chapter confirmed what had happened. It's a brilliant and engaging opener and shows that Kojima is more than comfortable with taking risks, which is great because the things you see along the way are insane. If you're a big fan of Cliff's sections in the original Death Stranding, but you felt like it was somewhat held back by the gameplay, have no fear. The sections featuring Neil are insanely impressive. There have been a number of gameplay previews and reviews displaying that intro, but it was insane to play through this section and not see a hint of slowdown with all the things happening around you. It was so easy to get distracted. And distracted I did because in the second encounter, I accidentally walked into an enemy. And that happened because there was so much stuff going on in the environment that I was stunned by that I was literally just moving my thumbstick forward while rotating the camera, thinking that I wouldn't see an enemy for, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 minutes because it's one of those sections where it feels like there's a huge build up to it. And that was not the case because the moment I walked forward just a bit, I ran into a gunman and we got into a firefight. Now, I'm not going to show the footage to avoid heavy spoilers, but just take my word for it, it really shocked me. Now, from what I've experienced so far, a comfortable and confident Kojima is exactly what was needed to elevate Death Stranding 2 over its predecessor. The new characters introduced are all interesting and varied, and just like the original game, the conversations feel grounded and personal, even if they are doing the most odd things during these cutscenes. My favorite new character is Rainey, who has an amazing introductory cutscene and just happens to be the bright, bubbly character to counter Sam's melancholic demeanor. It's great. Now, even with all of these changes and improvements to the overall formula of Death Stranding, this is still a niche game at its core. I can wax poetic on this game all I want, but if you weren't a fan of the original, you probably won't be a fan of the sequel, even though it is far more accessible. At its core, this is a game about making deliveries, getting from point A to point B in the most efficient way possible. This isn't going to be for everyone. In fact, I am fairly certain that there are purists out there right now who are upset at the amount of new gear you have available to you. What you're seeing on screen is everything I've unlocked so far. Now, I've spent a lot of time building and restoring infrastructure. You don't have to do this. You can actually fast travel with your ship, and this makes it far easier to complete objectives and build up areas. It's honestly addicting. I think I've spent around 8 hours or so building roads and monorails because seeing these areas come to life is very fun. Also, riding the monorail is super relaxing, and you can use the zipline function if you want to hop off at certain points. You can also hop off the monorail too, but don't do that unless you have the right skeleton, otherwise you will die, and remember, repatriating will lead you to a void out, and that's no fun. But back to my point. It's clear that Death Stranding 2 wants you to be more capable early on. The new systems and tools ensure that every player, regardless of skill type, can enjoy this game. You just have to enjoy the quote-unquote mundane, which is of course making deliveries, but how you make them is up to you. If you don't want to use any of the new tools and want to live out your dreams of being a purist porter while you're just making deliveries on foot, feel free to do so. I don't know why I've seen so many posts online about people being upset about all the new additions. You don't have to use them if you don't want. If you don't want the social aspect of the game in which you see the community help one another in building roads and other infrastructure, play it offline. The point is, Death Stranding 2 allows you a level of flexibility to play this game in whatever way you want. It is very reminiscent of Metal Gear Solid 5, in which the gameplay was incredibly flexible, allowing players the ability to approach enemy encounters on their terms. Death Stranding 2 does the same here, but it features a far more confident Kojima who is deep in his bag. The amount of absurd things I've seen do not deter from the overall experience. In fact, it enhances them. The data scientist is a VTuber. The pizza chef is an actual martial artist who teaches you pizza martial arts, and yes, it is amazing. And also, my favorite Korean actor, Don Lee, makes an appearance and he gives you electrified gloves, which is fitting because in every movie he is knocking the shit out of someone. Do yourself a favor and watch the Roundup movies. very fun. Look, I can't make this up if I try. There's just so many weird things happening in this game. You just kind of roll with it, and if you play the original Death Stranding, you're like, yeah, this kind of fits. And it does, and even when Kojima goes even weirder, you're just like, that makes sense. That tracks. Death Stranding 2 is just a wonderfully weird experience and somehow retains that niche feel that made the original game so beloved. It's also one of the best games I have ever seen. Seriously, these environments can be photorealistic at times, and let me tell you, unlocking the auto drive function on roads via the new APS system lets you coast through some of these areas and just enjoy the ride. Put some music on and just have a good time. The amount of changes and updates in this game is staggering, but they all somehow fit and they all work. Kojima gives you a literal sandbox in Australia and Mexico and says, go play. And you can, it's just a matter of how you want to play it that makes it so brilliant in my opinion. You can either strip down the experience to its bare bones, which is probably something I'm going to do as a challenge, or embrace all the new cool shit that's here and be the most efficient porter that I can be. The actual fast travel system that you'll unlock fairly early is so snappy and so quick, you will be delivering stuff in no time. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm having such a good time just going from point A to point B, because I'm like, I can just get on the Magellan and just start my deliveries there. How you play Death Stranding 2 is ultimately up to you, and I'm convinced that even if somehow Kojima botches the final chapters of the game, like it just goes completely off the rails, the core gameplay experience found here is so strong that it can make up for any narrative shortcomings. But that's just my opinion. Now I'm going to go back to building monorails now because I want to enjoy going around a snow-capped mountain because it just looks cool. Let me know how you feel about Death Stranding 2 in the comments, because that's going to do it for this video. If you happen to like the content, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. I am Ken from Pixelated Thoughts, and I'll talk to you next time.
Those who dare disrespect pizza do not deserve to live.
Goddamn.
You must be Sam. There's something I would like to give you. I'll need a moment. Please wait at the delivery terminal upstairs. Sam,